So in this section, we're talking about a null hypothesis. You guys are used to what's called an alternate hypothesis, and that's symbolized by HA. A null hypothesis is more common in science in that you're trying to prove that something does not exist before you prove that something does. It's more accepted in the scientific community to do that. So a null hypothesis states that there is no difference between the groups being studied. So what we can say in that is that you can write in your null hypothesis no effect between those groups. Another way to say that is does not. A does not affect B. There are different ways to write your null hypothesis. These are common sayings when you write them out. I do want to point out that the null hypothesis does not mean the opposite of the alternate hypothesis. It doesn't mean the opposite. It means that there's no relationship between the groups. So let me give you an example. It's not in your problem set, but this example is going to help you answer this section. Okay, so I'm going to write out a null hypothesis. I'm going to write out an alternate hypothesis right here and say that a warmer environment like we're experiencing right now in California will cause bacterial growth. Okay, this is my alternate hypothesis. I am making the relationship between a warmer environment and bacterial growth. Those are the two groups that I'm making a connection with. In fact, I'm saying that a warmer environment will cause more bacteria to grow. I can definitely scientifically measure this. I can gather observations to create a logical conclusion. This can definitely be answered via the scientific inquiry. So right now, I'm wanting you to write a null hypothesis. Again, this problem is not in your set. It's going to help you answer the problems that you do have. So what a null hypothesis is that there's no difference between the two groups. It does not mean the opposite. And students always want to write the opposite of the alternate hypothesis for me. So let me write the opposite for you so you can see what I mean. The opposite of this alternate hypothesis would be that a colder environment, this is just one opposite, a colder environment will cause bacterial growth. That's the opposite, one of the opposites of the alternate hypothesis. This is not the null hypothesis. A true null hypothesis would be, go ahead and write null, H with an O at the bottom, a not, to indicate that there is not a relationship between the groups. I'm going to go ahead and write that a warmer environment, I keep the groups the same, environment does not. I'm going to go ahead and use that phrase, does not cause bacterial growth. There is no relationship between those two groups. You can describe your null hypothesis in different ways. Maybe you wanted to say a warmer environment has no effect on bacterial growth. That works too. You're telling me there's no relationship. This is the null hypothesis. Go ahead and attempt the other problems yourself.